For our next statistic, the state of Florida is bigger than England. So, kind of a very simple quote. How do we make this a little bit more visual? So, I thought let's go ahead and do an actual visual comparison. We can find a vector graphic of the state of Florida and a vector graphic of the country of England and see if we can't kind of get some kind of visual pairing here, because that'll work a lot better than just a regular sentence. So, I actually downloaded a couple of great vector graphics, and I'll put the resource links in the resource guide. You can download that and find these icons. So this is Florida. This is a pretty simple icon. I'm just going to ungroup it and ungroup it again. Sometimes you have to ungroup these quite a bit. There we go. I have Florida. I'm just going to copy and paste Florida on in here and go ahead and make a lighter color. And let's grab England. So I have the whole United Kingdom. So we're going to find a way to isolate that here in a second. So a lot of times, and I wanted to address this when you download vector graphics, first of all, make sure you have the rights to use it, or you need to give proper credits. So this was from Freepik, and I'll make sure I'll give proper credits in the links. But anytime you use kind of a free resource, make sure you give proper credits, or you purchase it if you need to get a premium license. So a lot of times these graphics will not be exactly how you need them. So what I need is a solid graphic. I don't need the lines or the outlines, but since you're great at using Adobe Illustrator, it'll be a breeze. So let's go ahead and highlight this, and let's go ahead and turn off strokes. So I'm going to go down here to my stroke fill, and let's just go ahead and negate all of that. And so now we have a nice smooth graphic. So now I have one object. So let's go ahead and copy the whole United Kingdom and pop him in here. Make it a slightly different color. Let's go to fill, just so we can kind of see the difference. Hold down shift and scale it down. So one thing we need to do is we need to figure out how much bigger Florida is to England, and we need to separate England from the United Kingdom because it doesn't say the United Kingdom. So we also want to make sure we're statistically and scientifically accurate. So I'm going to go do some comparisons and try to find what is the right scale, and I will be right back. So I was able to find the right scale. I literally just put how much bigger is Florida than England, and there's some great Google resources and some images where I can kind of find the right fitting. So now we need to figure out how to arrange this visually to kind of see the comparison. So I want to kind of tuck this in. I see this nice kind of clear cutout area. I can kind of slide the United Kingdom a little bit underneath here to kind of see how they can kind of compare a little bit. And if it goes over, that's okay. We're going to end up isolating England here in a moment. So now let's go ahead and apply some nice colors. We already have some colors and some really cool gradient, lighter gradient jewel tones that we have here. I'm just going to take the eyedropper tool and go ahead and apply a couple of those. And let's go ahead and make the United Kingdom a nice bright orange. So there's some nice contrast between the green and the orange. So I'm just going to take my gradient tool. I want to smooth that out, make sure it's all the same graphic. You don't see the individual counties or however it was divided into cities. And let's go ahead and make this a more smooth. I'm going to do a nice long drawn out gradient so it doesn't look like an obvious gradient. It's kind of more of a very subtle transition, just maybe a little bit darker. So now we need to isolate England. So England is only going to be the bottom half of the right. So let's go ahead and drag this out real quick, and we can do some simple cropping. We could probably use the rectangle tool, and let's see where we want to have it cropped. It's not going to be exact. So if you're from the UK, you're like, it's more north, but this will just kind of be a rough estimate for now. You can probably find more accurate maps of where England begins and where Scotland ends. So I have this. I'm going to go ahead and make it a different color. I'm going to simply kind of cut this out. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight both. And I'm going to right click and do make clipping mask. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to isolate it a little bit further because I don't want Ireland in there. So I'm going to see if I can't maybe just do the pen tool and kind of draw a more accurate cut out. There we go. So I'm just going to draw a shape over that I want to be able to isolate. I'm going to select both of them. I can right click and I'm going to just go ahead and make a clipping mask. So there that is. So I have that isolated. We can bring in our original graphic of, bring this back in. We can overlay it and make it darker so that they can see kind of where they're located. Because you rarely see England isolated from United Kingdom, so it'd be nice to kind of keep that. These are those little infographic things. You really got to think like the viewer. What are they going to be used to seeing? What's going to help them digest this information? And so thinking about, kind of ways we can present this in a way that you'd like to see it and the way that you would understand it. It's kind of the key to great infographic design. So I just need to go in. I'm just going to take the direct selection tool, kind of adjust my cropping there just a little bit better. I could have also cut it out using the shape builder tool, but since the graphic was a little bit more complex with little crossovers, I decided not to worry about that and do something a little more simple. So now I'm going to bring Florida on the top. And let's see if I can't find a better color. Let's find a little bit of a color that matches the background but is a little bit lighter. Just like that. Let's just find the best way to overlap these. And let's also add a punch of drop shadow. So I'm just going to go back and do our drop shadow here. Just go to Stylize Drop Shadow. Let's do a nice deep dark drop shadow at 75%. I do a little preview to see how it looks. Maybe back that off to about 44%. I don't want to have it too overwhelming. So just a little of that drop shadow really helps that Florida pop out over the UK. You can really compare the two. So I'm just going to continue to mess around with the layout. And then next we're going to focus on the actual type and see what's the best way to present this type instead of just having it like that. It's quite boring. Let's say kind of use our type as a way to also label the map, and you'll kind of see what I mean when we get there. So with infographics, you never want to take up too much room because usually you have 10 other maybe visuals or graphics you also have to fit around it or on this particular page. So you want to be as tight as you can with space, and so conserving space. So in this case, instead of having a separate line, I'm kind of going to integrate this in labeling it as well. So the state of Florida, and I highlighted Florida with the same color so that there's a color connection, is bigger than England, and there's the color connection there. So we're just going to do a simple stroke. I'm just going to grab the pen tool and we're just going to do a nice green line. Go ahead and make that a green gradient line. I'm going to go to my stroke panel. Let's make it a nice chunky line, and let's smooth out. Let's do a round cap. That'll give it a nice round cap and give it a nice polished look. And let me see if I can't flip that green to stroke and go back and add that cap. And there we go. So there's that line, and we can add another line of a similar color to this one right down here so that their eyes are drawn to the correct location. Not everybody knows their geography. We can't always assume people know what you know. And let's do a nice rounded cap. I think I already have that set. So there we go. That's a very simple graphic. We can maybe get away with making the type a little bit bigger. Just depends on how much room you have. I was just trying to match some of the font sizes I have elsewhere. Let me go ahead and get rid of that extra stuff over here. And that's it. So that's kind of a nice visual comparison. Very easy, very straightforward. And they're still able to kind of see where they're at. They know that's the United Kingdom because we left that in there for them so that they can really kind of know where they are geographically and compare very easily. So that was a quick, fun one. The next one, we're going to get into pie charts. And we're going to find a way to use the pie chart tool in Adobe Illustrator to make perfectly sectioned pie sections so that we can have mathematically correct pie charts. And we're going to do a little 3D spin on it, add some gradients, and try to make it a visually appealing pie chart. So we're doing that next.